Bishop,
We alive.
good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. If everyone is ready, we'll start off with the first item on the agenda, the letter to property owners that have tight tanks.
I love this letter.
Well, good. Colleen drafted it.
I love this letter.
Very good.
All right.
We draft.
So the board should have a copy of the draft letter that I would like to send out to all the people around the Lake Monk that
Right.
currently has the tight tanks. That I went through all the properties again. Each folder, in the month that we have the Board of Health, we roughly have 50 properties that I can determine
Right.
that
That
they
they
have tight tanks.
Yeah, and have nothing.
And they have nothing.
That makes me so. Hey, come on.
So I was looking for the board's review and approval
Yeah.
for site, you know,
Yep,
or any questions, edits, additions.
it's very clear, very short, smooth and clear, and so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is what it is, do it or not.
Well, and I mean, if they have questions,
Yeah, call,
Reach out.
come in, yeah,
We'll answer your
we'll talk about
questions.
it, yeah, that's, it's always your thing.
Thought it was a bit harsh for the person.
Okay.
This isn't the first letter though.
For this issue,
Yeah, no, this isn't the first letter. We've sent them letters already.
Not for the operation plan, no.
No, but we sent them letters saying we need your,
Public slips.
yeah,
well, I thought I took this as being specific to the operational plan, that whole topic. I thought from that perspective, since this is the first letter regarding that topic,
but
but
I disagree because I think that they, A, B, C. They should have known, they've known that. This isn't a secret that we've kept, that you have to do this. We sent them a letter once. They didn't, nobody returned anything. We sent them another letter. They didn't return anything.
And again, the letter that we were sending out was strictly on the, okay,
I
just,
understand,
all right,
but it was about tight tank and this is, okay, this is the third letter. They're the same people again. So, in my opinion,
when that's fine, yeah.
I mean,
That's fine.
well, if we've gotten no response,
no,
Well, I'm just basing on the fact of what we're talking about, the subject matter.
well, I agree, but, and I can see it both ways. And as I'm trying to think it through, this operational plan directly relates to pumping.
right,
So even if someone, and nobody did, sent us pumping records, and they were regular records, then we wouldn't even be looking at them for any more information, because even though we maybe didn't have their written contract in hand,
Mhm.
they were in compliance almost by default, because they were doing what they were supposed to do. And we were getting records, so, you know, maybe they don't have exactly what this is looking for. This is my contract that he comes every 8 weeks, he comes every 12 weeks.
and this
Which
just
is
shows
really-
you that he's come.
Right, which is
Here's
really
my
what-
receipts that show you what,
Which is really what we're looking for,
right,
is that agreement.
right,
But if no one even responded with pumping records,
right,
it's kind of like getting ignored.
right, exactly.
I understand. I
mean-
just took it that this was a little different subject matter. Not to do with pumping, that's why it's on the.
Well, it has to do with with tight tank, which is part of the tight tank things are pumping.
I know,
The other side of it is that when they installed the tight tanks and that they were aware that they would have to maintain them in that this regulation that we quote clearly defines their responsibility as far as providing an operational plan to the board.
well.
And then they're getting it, and then they're gonna get this too.
Right, it's possible that the engineer maybe didn't explain everything, you know,
Not
or
likely.
didn't explain everything other than the fact that when the alarm goes off, you've got 5 days.
Yeah.
To get someone in here based on the flow rate and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they didn't go any further than that.
Yeah.
But again, unfortunately, it appears that if no one sent their pumping records, then we kind of got ignored.
Right.
I understand. I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
Would you want to change
that
them?
myself, but I guess not. Huh?
Well, like I said, I look at this as a, and I understand what you're saying with the other issues, and it's probably part and parcel of the topic, and when we said what the other thing, I just view this as a new item, a new topic.
See, I think it's all part of the same topic, in my opinion, and I think, hey, come on, let's, this is your lake. This is your area. This is what you're thinking about. Come on. Let's step to the plate.
You say, you.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, we could eliminate the failure to comply line.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes people do
They-
get their
they
back
fail-
up when
They
they
failed to
see legal
comply.
action.
They failed to comply already twice.
I agree, but we're trying to bring people into compliance. Sometimes
We
when
did a
you
nice
go-
gentle letter the first 2 times.
I do just want to say, like, this is gonna go through all people that have tight tanks around Lake Minnetonka.
Right,
A large majority, not all, but a large majority did send me their pumping slips
Right.
of the systems.
right.
So I just want to say, they're gonna get the letter as well, looking for
Right.
their pumping plan, or their operational plan.
Okay,
Right.
so that's a little different. I felt as though nobody responded to your letter.
No, I got pumping slips.
Right.
Okay.
We did get them, yeah.
Okay. Now I got a little different view, because wasn't I just saying that we've been ignored? No one,
Well,
I
we
was
just-
just waiting for him to speak up.
Yeah, so about 20 people have not responded to us about the pumping slips, out of the whole entire list.
okay,
And the list is roughly what number?
About 113, 114?
How about 20%?
okay. Why did I have 50 properties?
That I could confirm have tight tanks.
Okay, that you
Right.
can
Yeah,
confirm.
this is everybody, regardless if they sent us pumping slips or not, they're gonna get a letter saying you have a tight tank, but we don't have an operation plan.
Well, you could, to your point, then take out the failure to comply component and the rest of it is just factual. You know, it's that the fact that you have a tight tank, under the regulation, you're required to provide the operational and maintenance plan. And that we're asking for it, that's all. And leave it at, and see if anyone
Not
responds.
that I want to make more work, but to the people that did send pumping records, could we have a version for them in addition to the pumping records that you supplied us with? We would also require a maintenance plan for the state law. The people that didn't respond sent this version.
Or you could keep one letter and just say, you know, thank you to the property owners who did respond with their pumping records. In addition to the pumping records, blah, blah, we could
Yeah,
we
I
could
just
just
like that
change
better.
that.
I just think 2 different.
okay.
Right, one letter and
Right.
just
Thank
thank them.
Yeah.
thanks.
I almost like that better, because then people are like,
Oh, wait a minute.
my neighbor responded and I didn't. I'm not being a good
And
neighbor.
they talk, it's like, you got what? You get that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what
Okay.
we're talking about.
But if you incorporate like Colleen says, a thank you or recognition for those that did supply the pumping records.
Yeah.
That we previously asked for, we thank you. You know, put something addition, we'll see additional
Everything's
records
going well.
come forth.
Right.
I took the operation and maintenance plan as a subject, as a little separate topic from pumping records, that's all. So, because it is the first time we're introducing this topic to the people, I decided better way to go might be more of an introduction to why. And I'm sure we could certainly still quote the regs and why it's required and all that stuff. I just thought it was a more softer approach for first.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I mean, just something along the lines of thank you to those property owners who responded to our request for pumping records. In addition to the pumping records, per blah, 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 you're also required to provide the board with an operational plan. And then leave the rest of the body, we can take out the further legal action, because then what we could do is if no one responds, then you can send out a notice of non-compliance.
There you go.
That could be the second part.
I mean, that has, we correct me if I'm wrong, would have more teeth
Mhm.
in the verbiage.
Well, a non-compliance isn't an order, so it's just a notice under the Title V regulations.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it with that other property up on Northbridge Street.
Youth bridges.
No, not
No,
Northbridge, no,
that?
Blackstone Street.
Oh,
Blackstone
okay,
Street.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that, yeah, Blackstone, okay.
The notice of non-compliance is just, hey, you know, we're letting you know you're not in compliance. It's not an order. It's not appealable. There's a step procedure that you have to follow. The second one is the order. That then is an order by the board saying you have X amount of time to comply, and then you have to put in that verbiage that you have the right to an appeal, blah, blah, blah. A non-compliant, you do not, because they don't have a right to appeal a non-compliance.
But you could be a little more direct in the language of the statements you use.
Mhm.
in Compliance. That's kind of what I was alluding to. You could be more direct with things like this. In that non-compliance, granted, you're right, it's not an order, but
Yep.
you could start to show a little bit more seriousness.
Well, it's also too, like, to let them know also, like, we send this first letter and then the non-compliance letter comes, so now they'll be like, oh, wait a minute, they're not going away.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes that will
We hope
force
that
them,
works.
well, yeah, will force them to respond.
Should we put a line in there for anyone who has not yet submitted their pumping records? This is information we need in addition to what we already requested.
It's a good idea.
We can redraft it
Yeah.
and then the board can take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty to the point, but I guess from previous conversations, I kind of had this mental understanding of we need to have this plan.
Mhm.
So when I read it, I was fine with it. Not knowing exactly what the response was from our first round. But I mean, if we can add those things to, you know, make it a little more
Absolutely.
friendly, but yet to the point,
Oh, yeah, still.
I'm all for that. I mean, we're just trying to be helpful. We're not trying to threaten anybody.
Mhm.
Right.
So.
Not yet,
Well,
Not
not yet.
yet.
so we're gonna erase,
We'll redraft
Yep,
it.
we'll revamp it,
And then we'll,
put it before the board again for review.
yeah, for you guys in 2 weeks for review. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
easy enough.
Yeah, I mean, the regs included, so if they, you know, read the regulation,
right,
that would probably clear up anything that someone didn't explain to them
Mhm.
when either they purchased the property or they put the system in. Sometimes we don't read the small print. Until we have a problem, right? Like, where's that warranty card? Okay. Anything else on agenda item 1?
Well, are you okay with what we decided?
yeah.
Is that kind of working?
I mean, I'm on the Lake Nipmuc Task Force thing,
Yes.
so they're all angst about it as well. You know, and John, I think, wants to go knocking on doors.
Which we can do too.
Yeah.
Once, you know, once,
If this one letter goes out and if it doesn't get.
and then the site, right,
Yeah.
then we can,
Yeah,
we can knock on doors.
yeah, because he was like,
John,
Dudley.
okay, just want to,
sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure that there's no
Yeah.
confusion,
right,
especially for anybody that might be in the audience.
right,
We take for granted that we know all the players.
right.
All right. Item number 2, trash recycling reminder.
Alright, so I drafted what, basically I get calls on regarding the trash subscriber program throughout the year. So I decided to devise a letter, put it in with the bills that are gonna start fiscal year 2025, and we're looking for the board's review to get that inserted into the next trash bill.
The only,
Well, the only question I have is, what was the basis to do this particular?
Just to remind you, because I get a lot of phone calls asking the same questions, so if I just email or not, put it into the bills.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, yeah, yeah.
Or sort of a straight out reminder. I didn't know if you were experiencing any kind of a certain situations that were repeating themselves and you had to kind of.
No, just a common question, like these are the common questions I get.
Yeah, I see some of this going on when I drive down Blackstone Street. It's like that 65-inch color TV box. If, or someone who, only has one bag of trash and is too lazy to, well, in this case, it's an extra long driveway. And then Phil's gone by and I see the trash bag there. And I'm like, that's gonna be a phone call, because, again, their driveways have to mile, so it was easier to put the bag there than drag the toter down the hill. I get it. But I know it's not gonna get picked up and I know why. But it hasn't maybe happened enough to them for them to know why. And obviously I don't see them because they live so far off the street. So other than driving up their driveway and knocking on their door, I can't even help them out. Sometimes you can see someone at the curb struggling and you can say, hey, pick up that car because it's 2x2 pieces. And it's like, oh yeah, I really didn't feel like cutting it all up.
Even break that.
But now I'll be cutting it up, you know what I mean? Because the house is on the street.
Yeah.
The only thing that I noticed, and I don't know, I guess I'm gonna look at it through Tom's glasses, were there no tax dollars used to support the program? I'm wondering if we get called on that. And the reason we might get called on is because we know from dissecting the subscriber trash program, we know, and going for this enterprise account that we're in the process of, we know that there were some indirect costs. And we only know and have thought about this because of the in-depth conversations we've had trying to make things accountable and transparent.
Well, we know that indirect costs have been presented. It hasn't been confirmed that they're actual.
Okay. So how does everybody feel about that statement? Because
What are we speaking of?
first line, for no tax dollars used to support the program is
Right.
bolded.
Right,
When does the town meeting decides if we get the enterprise account or not?
It will.
And that's in May?
Yeah.
So I don't have to have these letters until June, so we can hold off until June
To actually put it out.
to put this because I can leave it in there until after the town meeting to say, yep, it is no tax dollars used, or just take it out completely if it is indirect cost type of thing.
You could, yeah, I personally didn't have a problem with the statement. If anything, it highlights situation.
Well, and
Will it raise questions to your point? It could, you have to be prepared to field
I
that.
just didn't want to make a statement that could be considered not 100% because someone, like I said, could dissect that
Mhm.
and,
and what would they get when they dissected it?
well, we have to explain it because like I said, we know from digging into this enterprise account that the accounting department feels as though there's some indirect costs. And we know from reading the rules of an enterprise account that we have to have an agreement with the accounting department.
Well, since we're talking about indirect costs, this was from Dan Byer about his indirect costs for his fund. And on the second page is what is broken out into indirect costs that is involved with water department.
Okay, so they do have an agreement.
They have an agreement, yes.
Okay, because when I asked that question, I was told no.
Well, they don't take the funds from him.
Okay,
Yeah, it was based as a follow-up from, if you talk about an email conversation I had with Dan last night. And it just happened, we touched on the subject matter, so he did a little digging, he was kind of sent along a little follow-up. But we got the sense that it wasn't necessarily a formal written If it was any kind of agreement, it was a verbal thing,
Mhm.
which I think if we could do one ourselves, I think we should. It to be in writing, everyone can see that our players change, we might go away, other people go away.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily believe that he was just writing for what he was saying, but that to that point, so far, they haven't moved any.
Right.
But it's never been processed. But
It's interesting.
But I necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily want to be operating our town in fashion. I wouldn't want to.
Right.
Because there might be a miss, maybe somewhere happening. I want it to be on the up and up and everybody.
Well, that's the-
forward with everything and,
The whole reason to do an enterprise account.
well, yeah, we each try to get real meticulous to make sure the ins and outs are all working and everything's in agreement, so all parties are working it correctly. So I wouldn't want to,
No, I agree.
you know what I mean? So,
But change the letter, I mean, to your point, Jack, and say something along the lines of, as of July 1st, due to the creation of the enterprise account, there will be no tax dollars used to support the trash program, because that will be accurate, because part of your salary is going to be indirectly charged to the enterprise account, so there's no tax dollars that will be used now.
Okay.
You could do something like that if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't bolded and we hadn't been in these discussions and educating ourselves and everybody who has experience with these things, sharing information with us so that we do it right.
Mhm.
Not just trying to do it, we're trying to do it right.
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't pick that one.
Mm.
So between the two things, the discussions that we've had, the education that we've all gotten, and it was bolded, we get called on that and have to explain our point of view.
I personally wouldn't have a problem explaining it.
Mhm.
But it would all fall upon Jack, because he's gonna get called.
Tom's cell phone number is.
And, well, we might get calls too.
Right.
We know a lot of people that know him, so we might get calls. We have spoken directly to people.
But to the credit of the board, I mean, your drive to have clarity in the trash program by creating the enterprise account is truly, will achieve your goal of no tax dollars being used.
Well, and we also know one of the drivers to getting to that goal is the fact that there are taxpayers that don't participate in the program that have also benefited from the program.
Yeah.
Whether it's hazardous waste day, which is paid, some of the money's in our budget, some of the money comes from our trash hauler. So we know that, but see, we know that because we've been involved and we dissected it. The average person isn't gonna pick up on all those little nuances. So I just didn't want to have to, I didn't want anybody to look at us as, is that entirely true? And us to have to try to explain that sort of is.
As of July 1st, it will be.
Right.
So provided that it's approved at town meeting as of July 1st by FY25, that statement will be accurate.
So I mean, to Jack's point, we hold off and then wait. When we get closer to that to see what comes out of all.
The outcome of town meeting, and then you can absolutely make that statement, and you could even put it in there, Jack, that as of, July 1st of, 2024, the trash program will not use any tax dollars, provided that the enterprises come to pass on May 1st, which we'll know when that letter is out.
Hopefully it will.
That sounds good.
Won't be any.
Yeah, and would I be correct in that, prior to the, probably answering my own question, prior to the approval of the enterprise fund by the voters, right? I take it we would have to have all our agreements in place.
Mhm.
So that in the discussion, part that could come up at town meeting about it, all the FAQs that it is.
Well, honestly, the indirect costs, I mean, Jack's salary is a no-brainer.
Well,
It's an absolute brainer. The percentage that is determined that the board agrees upon would be reallocated to the enterprise.
they still have a reservation on salary.
Yeah, I'm not 100% in agreement with that.
You can see what Dan has in the line item, there's X amount of hours. So I would just ask the question, if this didn't exist, would Dan's salary be cut? Will be reduced by 5 hours, so I know your initial projection you put out, probably on the higher side.
It's very nice on it.
30%.
Yeah.
Does that mean if this program were to go away, we should pay Jack 30% less?
Oh, I agree, or anybody's salaries.
Salary, that 30%?
I would want to.
You would want it?
I wouldn't.
Okay. so-
No. I mean, I don't want somebody.
Right.
Because in real life, right, let's take ourselves away from municipal government. In real life, there are programs that you may work on as an employee, and those programs come and go, but your hours don't go away. I mean, sometimes you work a double time.
Something else fills the bill or?
Right, and there may be some times in between projects or whatever where, you know, you use a little comp time and go home because you've done overtime when the project was, you know, hot and heavy. So that's very similar to Jack's position, regardless of what the Board of Health has on its plate, because real life ebbs and flows.
So I understand that the salaries were determined a few years back by an outside group. But I can't say that part of that determination was based on a specific element, something that the person touching but does within the role. Factor that in.
But even, let's just say we were to look at Jack will turn on you. Let's just say we were to look at his job description.
Yeah.
All right, responsible for blah, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Well, again, those workloads ebb and flow.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily go away. And when we sat down and we, you know, conversed a little bit about how many hours Jack devotes to trash, we had that discussion that when we're in a contract renewal, there's more work. When we're setting the fee, subscriber fee for the next year, there's more work. But then there's periods of time, especially in between contracts, if it's a 5-year period, where things mellow out. When Jack was asked that question, he was put on the spot to answer that. We were in year one of not only a new contract, but a new program. All of a sudden, we went to TOTUS and everybody had to adjust it. So, yeah, there was more work. There were more questions. People were adjusting. What if I don't do this and do that? Questions on the sheet.
Yeah.
That's gonna go away. People have been doing it. It hasn't been a year yet because the TOTUS came late.
Yeah.
But once we get past the first 12, the next 4, everybody should know what the TOTUS program is all about.
Right.
You know, you might have someone new that moves to town that came from a program that wasn't TOTUS. One person, one question, one answer. You know, a lot of times they follow their neighbor, whatever their neighbor's doing, they just follow along. So the hours decrease drastically in between all those ebbs and flows, just like any other responsibility that Jack has in his job description. You know, same thing for you, right? When you're doing all your restaurant renewals and things, or when it's tobacco time, everything ebbs and flows, but your week is still full.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, though, I don't want you to get captivated by it. It's just simply Jack's salary is his salary, and it will remain whole, whether it's in the GF or if a portion of it is reallocated to the enterprise account. If the enterprise account ceases to exist because the town decides that they're going to return it to the GF, well, that includes Jack's salary as well. It's not like there will be a loss. I mean, my salary was paid, a portion was indirectly paid through an enterprise account. When the enterprise account was rescinded at a town meeting, my salary in its entirety went to the GF. So it's not like there would be like, oh, well, too bad, Jack, now you're down 10% of your salary. That's not how it works. This is just an accounting, clearer accounting of the actual dollars that are needed, are required to deliver the curbside trash and recycling program.
And I'm perfectly fine, and I think I understand the accounting aspect of it, in allocating X amount of hours to that account. But what I would be against, unless I can get a better argument for it, would not be to apply any of his salary time as a cost to the program to the subscribers, because his salary, as anybody's salary in the municipality, in my view, is already paid for by taxpayers. So we then want to take his these 5 hours or whatever it is, add it in, and then say that's a cost, an additional cost of the program that subscribers have to pick up. I vehemently disagree with it, unfortunately.
And see, I can agree with that. And I understand exactly what you're saying. Jack's hours aren't gonna go away.
Mhm.
But to your point, when I was thinking about all the extra things that we have to do at the landfill, and I'm thinking how that's gonna take time away, if the highway department is gonna do the work, and that's an if. That's gonna take their time away from other things that they have to do.
Yeah.
And that's gonna consume highway department budget money. That's why I said we needed, in my mind, we needed to put extra money in our landfill account.
Yeah.
Because we need to compensate the highway department, and now we're being told that we don't have that. So that's almost the same thing.
Well, when you say compensate the highway department, I would feel like we're supposed to send money from one department to another. I would
Right.
just have them, highway department, put it into their budget or represent the work that they do for that function. And I guess you could transfer the money, you have it in our budget, and then they take it and they transfer it over to the highway.
But that would be,
That's fine.
that would sort of be the same thing that these indirect costs are. A portion of your salary is gonna get transferred over to the subscriber pay.
Well, but the subscribers are already paying for the salary. This track program goes away tomorrow.
Mhm.
The taxpayers are still paying what he's gonna be,
Correct.
not changing.
And to your point, every subscriber is a taxpayer.
Sure.
And even if they're a renter, okay, part of their rent goes to cover the expenses of that property, which are property taxes,
Yeah.
because that's how landlords figure out their rent.
Yeah.
So when you say it's sort of like double dipping, I can see that. I mean, I can understand everyone's argument, and I never expected to have to account for them.
Well, it remains to be seen, because we haven't, unless you've had further discussions with Eric and Jody on it.
That meeting had taken place.
Still.
Unless I missed something in my emails. And if I missed something in my emails, I'm sure I would
Be charged.
get a phone call.
That should probably take place sooner than we are.
And I don't know what,
Have you done any reach out of curiosity?
not since our meeting.
We should-
And that was an unscheduled meeting, and I was very happy that, she had the time to see me.
Oh, yeah.
But nothing has happened since then. Jack I saw her on a Wednesday. Jack saw her on the following Friday.
Well, I just, again, I know it's budget season,
Mhm.
so everyone's ramping up the budget, and I'll be very busy, Eric and Jody, with just the budget. So I think we have to be front and center as competitively and as aggressively as possible to.
Well, I'll reach out again. And for me, it's knock knock. That's just how I do things, and see what the progress is. I mean, I have been trying to pay attention, and I asked if we could do it before I go back to work,
Right.
because I was willing to come in at, in the morning, during the day, whatever is convenient for them.
Yeah.
So I, that just Hasn't happened yet. And I've been patiently, waiting, knowing that other things are going on. I will follow that up. I have to pay my excise tax.
I didn't like, it's on the counter, I said, oh, who's that today? But then I didn't get home from the funeral until 4:30.
About to open up that a little bit. That was the effect.
All right. You only get one?
That's probably, I think it's a couple.
Pay the kids.
9 to 10.
Not for long.
Oh, I've heard that before. I've said it before.
Okay, so we're gonna keep the letter.
Yeah.
But the letter is not gonna be released at this time.
Correct.
Obviously, and I didn't even think of the timeline with what's gonna be inserted in the bills. So that's good, and I will follow up with Jody about scheduling that meeting.
Okay.
Right,
Have we heard anything about the administrative assistant?
So as far as I know, they're still in contract negotiations, as far as I heard.
I was under the impression they hired.
They chose somebody.
Oh,
They chose someone. They chose a gentleman, Cody had
how's it next?
Yeah,
now.
you know?
No,
Oh,
but those are the little bits and pieces that I've heard.
Yeah. I watched the interviews, they interviewed 3 candidates.
Mhm.
And Cody was the one that, most people seem to want to go with, so they're going to extend the offer. As the last week we talked to me, but, Alan, it hadn't been finalized, so, just want to extend, he's formally accepted.
Because he was working it out,
He's working in Halifax.
right? But I think he lives,
This is a,
like,
yeah, this is a-
Oh, that's where our animal inspector is.
oh, that's right.
so he wasn't in Halifax, so that's just that, was a little closer.
Yeah, see, I got the impression he was from.
Oh, sorry, yeah, he works for Halifax.
Gotcha. Put all the bits and pieces together.
I'm not hoping, I've got my legs crossed, my arms crossed, my fingers crossed. Such.
Maybe you're-
It's a figure street.
Yeah, very nice. Oh, you started their interview with him?
Because I missed the tail end of the hour
Yeah,
session.
yeah.
The interview I saw was the select board's interviews.
And did he
Candidates,
do as well?
He did very well.
Yeah.
Wasn't, I gathered from the initial response after the interviews were done, it wasn't the unanimous view.
Didn't matter.
Overall, that was the candidate, the ultimate decision.
That's okay. Not everybody has to agree. I mean, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a board be a bunch of sheep.
Yeah,
Definitely want to, be respectful of each other and be able to
Right.
voice their opinions.
Yeah.
That's good for everybody. All right, anything else on that? All right, so we're gonna go to agenda item number 3. Has everyone done their homework and read this?
Yeah, I'm trying to like that, Joe.
No,
That's
it was,
good, yeah.
I was impressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And then I think, was the last one December 20th or something?
Yep, December 20th.
Yeah, look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing I had, and I didn't
I take
highlight,
them one by one, just.
we can do that.
Yep.
Might be easiest.
Yep. And so for July 5th, all 3 members were present.
Yeah, and it was a select board meeting. I was good with that. Joyce,
Yeah,
Tom,
Yes, we put it down.
So we wanna-
that was all about you.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to go one by one?
do you guys want to vote one by one?
Well, we can if you want to make it, maybe to do it one by one is probably a good idea.
yeah.
Okay.
I was-
All right.
Makes sense.
So we need a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of Wednesday, July 5th, 2023.
I make
Good.
a motion, we accept the minutes as read, July 5th, 2023.
I second motion.
All in favor?
I,
Next one is July 12th. All board members were present.
Yeah, this one was,
Dan Holmes,
yeah, and
Danielle and Dan.
Danielle's, interest in trying to catch all those animals that were falling through. And whether or not we needed to go to the extent of permitting, so to speak, so that she would have a full list.
Mhm.
Um, We let Dan know that Colleen was coming on board. And the adjustment for the rewording of the rooster eggs. Had any questions on this, Joyce?
No,
Huh?
The only one glaring question I had. Spelling of my name down. the bottom.
well, you always do right.
Hey. And then the last paragraph. Paragraph 3. You forgive me.
On the last page,
Yeah,
On the back page of the very one. Which one are we looking at? July 12th?
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, there's an end.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Quite
Circle.
I had it for my cheese.
Where is it?
Third sentence down.
Yeah,
Oh, right there, yeah, okay.
All right.
All right, if everybody was good, we'll have a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for July 12th.
Second motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one is July 26th. Joyce was not present.
Vote on this. Chicken.
I didn't have any issue with this one.
Sitting in the sun.
Yes, might be dog.
This,
Colleen was new to the board, the department, so. So I will step down.
Mhm.
And I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for July 26, 23.
So before we approve,
Yes,
just one thing we may want to add on one item,
yes. What item number?
second item.
Second item.
Agenda.
Yep.
You may want to put in specific address. As opposed to North Bridge Street, the number that goes along with that.
Yep, I'll do that.
Throw that in.
Mhm.
And the only other thing with more.
Is that how long this has been going on since?
Yeah,
well, he has, I mean, he's been
Yeah. I mean, it just
compliant, but
seemed
he
like,
has 2
it
years.
seemed like yesterday.
Yeah.
when,
This is what's good about minutes, is
Yeah,
kind of brings back
Yeah.
the light.
yeah.
it's scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You hate to admit that
Yeah.
things sometimes take time.
That's right.
So,
Well, it's a process. You have to complete the process,
Right,
you know?
it just seems like that, you know, it's like,
Well,
Yeah, no, I know.
And you have to remember, that address started out as something different.
Mhm.
right,
You know,
Yeah.
that, this,
And all that was.
this was, yeah, this was just
Right.
the piece that pertained to us,
Right.
but it really started out as something different, so those things take some time.
Yep.
And the second thing,
It was more of a question. I was on item, seventh item on the agenda. You have to refresh my memory. Is this the one? You reviewed the presentation from the Collins Center? That was
Yes,
recommended to
that
us
was-
by
yes,
the select board
Right,
to
'cause-
review that night?
Yeah, because we watched the video.
Yeah.
Now, you may have already been there. Did you go to the select board meeting and see it firsthand? And then you were bringing it to our attention?
It came to me, I can't remember how it came to me, but it was recommended that review it
Okay,
because it pertained to potential changes.
and it had with the DPW,
The trash program,
right?
so we ended up doing, so that was the same.
yes,
Okay.
I did know if we,
Well, it also had to do with the fact that all elected positions were gonna go away except for Board of Selectmen.
well, that was what was presented as being, that was presented by the Collins Center as something they felt should be the way to go. Whether or not that actually happens, that's up to the people.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say that. But that's the viewpoint from the Collins Center that it was well heard.
Right.
That's what they feel should be the case, that the select board should be the only elected group, and then everything else underneath that should be an appointed. Which would essentially put the select board, they'd have complete responsibility for all the decisions that they make, right? They're appointing all those positions, but I still think there's a balance that should be kept in elected versus appointed.
I found that aspect a little alarming.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about a DPW. So with that in mind, we're so small. We have such a small staff. I don't know if that's a necessary step.
Well, I understand the argument that's made for making them appointed. In general, I think the argument is that it gives those that make the decisions, they have a larger field to choose from. They don't just have to choose. It's not just somebody who lives in the town.
Right, so they made it,
Resident.
they
They go
choose.
outside the community and appoint people these positions.
Or you could really hire an employee.
That's what you're doing. And in essence, given how Board of Health is performing financially, they'd be jumping the salary base of the Board of Health tremendously. If that would have happened.
Yeah, I would think.
For this board, I would think, because if you're gonna get people who are qualified that wanna, really have an interest, I don't think they're gonna do it with simple.
yeah,
Right.
I agree.
That's one way. But
Not that we're not qualified and are doing a good job.
No, I mean, your educational background,
We're just
Yep,
like
your
waiting.
background and experience.
so that's the thing, and you just pointed to it. A lot of the boards that exist in different locations, you could test this, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of them, they're administrative in nature, right? So what I believe has been an important skill set that people bring to the table is the ability to wade through a topic, to look at all the variables of the situation, to really dissect it, which can take time, but you have to show due diligence. And the things that we don't know as board members, we can go to somebody like Pauline, who's got the practical day-to-day experience, somebody like a Tom Ryder, who's the engineer, who's got the practical day-to-day experience, Steve.
Donatelli.
Who's got the practical and the education, so they all have their educations in those fields. So where we might lack it at the board, we can defer, get their input, ultimately the decision has to be made at the board. But the key thing is that we're taking in all the pieces of data that we have to make the decision. Ultimately, sometimes we end up changing our minds because something wasn't available.
Right.
At this point in time, it became available later, so we adjusted. But I think that's the most key point on the, what was like,
Mhm.
be honest with
I just don't remember believing giving up your voice, your right to vote.
No, absolutely.
And I think it's a healthy balance. And that's what I mean is a healthy balance.
Well, I think that I'd like to believe that the residents, the voters, that maybe don't have the time at the stage in life they're in to maybe participate, still want to make sure that they have a say, that someone is representing, that they can call somebody up and with a complaint or a compliment. And, you know, when the new program went in, there was a gentleman from Cottondale Road that I know a little bit on the side. He called up to say, what a great program he thought we had put together.
Right.
Gentleman from 10 Northbridge Road called me up and said, this is where I'm at. So the residents, the voters need that ability to call someone that is on a board, that is elected, that is their representative. And if they're not happy with how you represent it, they vote you out.
That's right.
It's a very good point, the representative aspect.
Yeah, correct.
That's key.
That's what it is.
You're right, that's the representative.
You know?
Otherwise, they're all representatives of the select board.
You know,
Right.
and to Alan's point is that, you know, and like this board too, you're so plugged into your community. You know, that those two individual residents that you just mentioned felt comfortable enough to contact you, to call you on the phone and have a conversation with you. That's the most valuable.
And again, I wanted to say, just because we're on camera here, I just want to say for the record, I'm not saying that our select board is not capable of making these decisions, right? I'm looking at it as you're presenting it, just the opportunity for the people to have a say in the process. That's all. That's what.
Well, kind of the definition of democracy, right?
Right,
Being
exactly.
represented.
Plus, you know, there's residents like yourselves who have a desire to serve their community. And so, you know, I mean, without the elected boards, you would not be able to serve the community. I think it's an important component of government.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so I'll back up. I'll step down, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for Wednesday, July 26, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, August 9th, all three board members were present.
So I'm looking at item 5. And seeing that, I don't think anybody's come to our meetings.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Jason Kuda.
yeah, was supposed to be our guy.
Well, I don't know if I ever heard that officially, but I know that he was on a fairly regular basis. I don't know what's happened to that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything out of his eyes for,
Well, I gotta believe right now, they're extremely busy.
I mean, I think we only saw him twice.
Yeah, it's only two or three times, but you know, it's, as much as I like it, to have that, you know, sometimes, you know, it's a case where they're listening and nothing comes up. Just the fact that they're listening, but I guess they can only go back to, who knows, maybe Jason even goes back to our meetings and does a little catch up. So,
Well, yeah, I think the fact that everything is recorded.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be present. It's
But if
always,
your presence is there to give your input,
it's always been a benefit. I mean,
it
there
seems to
were
me
many,
that,
there were many times that Lonnie bailed us out
yeah,
because he had
Input.
the technology or he had knowledge of something far greater detail than we did,
Yeah.
which was always appreciated.
we'll see if you're able to come back again. Regular basis.
I don't know, I think, I remember seeing him twice. You know, but
I believe I have his number. I can reach out.
You just, we don't see your choice, where is he?
yeah. I mean, if that, you know, that's part of his,
I haven't even seen him on the street. So, I mean, he could be knee deep in what he does for a living.
That's the other thing,
Right.
you know, they all do work regular jobs and.
Cause I would see him out walking, and I haven't seen him out walking for a while. I'll send him a text.
Where are you, my sweet?
Ask him just that way out.
Okay, I was gonna say, well, like, I haven't seen you put the trash out in a while. Who do you got fill it in for? He's a good neighbor.
Yes, he is.
All right, so anything else on this set of meeting minutes? That's the case. I'm gonna ask for a motion.
I hope that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second the motion to accept the minutes for.
All in favor?
Aye.
Only by any means, feel free to chime in.
Jump on in and say,
I
hey,
mean, no, you're an active health agent.
Thank you.
All right, so August,
I was just
Say
thinking.
it
she-
again.
Also, one black rate she was getting in the earlier meetings from Board of Health.
What, the what? What?
I just figured you would have acknowledged all one black rate she was giving you up front from the Board of Health.
I appreciate the support every single day. Every single day.
all right, so for August 23rd, Alan was not present.
Ah,
Sundays too.
I'm out.
You're out.
I'm out.
So it's just Tom and Joyce.
All right, Joyce.
Okay,
Have at it.
I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary and needed a,
Neither did I.
So we need a motion.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes for August 23rd, 2023.
second ditch.
All in favor? Aye.
Joyce.
I,
Thank you.
I just was reading something that I said, did I? You just, no, did I? I'm checking over my, yes, I read everything and then I was, did I do that?
I don't think.
All right, September 13th, everyone was present.
First thing I picked up on, I made a note about the tobacco permit increase. That's down the bottom of 8th item on the agenda.
Yeah.
We're into 2024. Any pushback on that? Okay. I mean, we're always trying to set our fees fair and trying to cover our costs. So I was curious as to how that went. Good.
No wishes.
Okay, that's,
One other, just one other
Yes.
spelling note.
Is he your name again?
And it's just to say, I was reading the thing, yeah, look up the end.
Where-
And the same thing, item 8, with Chairman Greenberg called for motion. He, whether he does, somebody makes a motion.
What page?
Fisher, page 2 of 3, 8th item, on the Chairman Greenberg calls for a motion. I've got the end of Tom's name again.
that was the only thing I had on that, other than the memories of 10 Cape Road. And, you know, how took a while, we worked
Sorry,
through
I
it.
had to skip over.
No, we took a while, we worked through it,
It did work through,
you know.
time it all happens.
All those addresses. Okay, if there's anything else on that, right?
I make motion to accept.
Second motion, we accept meeting minutes to September 13th.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All right, September 27th, all members were present.
checking now to see if he has, he's taking the L on him.
Well, now I'm scared for Tom's name, I'm like.
I gotta get the L out of that. My sense of humor. What can I say?
think.
One thing I just, asked about on item number 3,
Item number 3, yes,
for the brochure,
yes,
that wonderful brochure you did.
yes.
Don't know why you didn't want to note down all the wonderful accolades you got to do such a great job at that.
I don't do this job for the accolades.
Okay, just fine.
But they are nice.
Oh, phenomenal.
I try.
We got to teach it. The boys say I'm doing a great job.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written, September 27th.
Second,
Second,
all in favor? Aye.
sorry.
No, that's fine.
Do I get eyes from both of you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Always get an eye from me, Jack.
Thank you. And you'll always get an N from me.
And I've always got an eye on you.
All right, so October 10th, all members are present except for Colleen.
And this is where we went to see the finance committee.
Correct.
I had nothing with this. The only thing I could say is that the finance committee, I didn't read it, finance committee was on board with us.
But then we found out that they really didn't have any problem.
I'm still trying to figure out how that may have happened because that's an important board.
Isn't that the truth though, right? I mean, that's
What I'm hearing,
yeah, me too.
but I mean, that's a very important
Yeah.
board. And, you know, a lot of the guys that, or gals that served on that board, became select board members.
Yep.
So I've always felt that that board in particular was, you know, a very important experience.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, a lot of the backgrounds, they're the small business people and financial advisors for a big corporation. So they were bringing the business world into municipal government. So I was disappointed to learn that maybe they don't have as much say as they used to have.
Yeah. FinCom's an advisory board.
I was really,
But I guess you could be passive in that nature or aggressive in nature.
Absolutely.
Depending on,
I'm not downplaying the purpose of the committee. I mean, I'm a committee member myself for over 20 years now. But our capacity is that is advisory.
yes, yeah.
And it's important.
But there's ways that you can make your voices.
Absolutely. Well,
You know,
to understand the budget and the operating, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really the guts of the town.
Right.
Truly it is.
And I would personally like to know if the board, honestly didn't do something. Like to think they would step up and say that.
I've seen it happen at town meeting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, usually things kind of go pretty smooth because there's been long discussions, but I have seen situations where the board as a whole
Yeah.
has decided that it wasn't a good idea or something they didn't want to back at that particular time.
Well, their opinion going into a town meeting, whether it be favorable or unfavorable action, weighs very heavy on the residents and, you know, and how they choose to vote as whether or not it's a favorable or unfavorable recommendation from the FinCom.
And I think a lot of voters rely on it
Absolutely.
because the average voter doesn't know all the ins and outs and all the discussions that have gone on. Now they probably know more, or at least they have more access because you don't have to physically go to a meeting
Mhm.
to catch up on a topic.
Absolutely. And that's the purpose of the FinCom too, is, you know, is to vet, you know, the issue and, you know, and make the best recommendation, give their residents, you know, of all of the information for them to make a determination on how they choose to vote. That's really what the job of the FinCom is to present the information to the resident so that the resident can then choose how they would want to vote on that topic. That's when you know you've done your job.
Anything else on this particular minutes?
Just one question. and you might have to refresh my memory. When we met with FinCom, Bill, as part of that discussion, I thought we brought up the desire to separate out municipal trash as part of the discussion.
I believe we did.
No, we asked them,
Is that correct?
we did talk
And
to
they
them
were,
about
and
it, yeah,
they were in agreement
Yeah.
because they understood
yeah,
the municipal trash should be on the shoulders of all the taxpayers, not just on the shoulders of the subscribers, which was a smaller pool. So they understood that right off the bat. And if I remember correctly, one of the finance committee members remembered a year when approximately $150,000 was taken from trash and put into the general fund
Mhm.
because we were having a hard time at that particular year
Mhm.
covering all our bills.
Yeah.
Another committee member that understood what we were saying about spreading the municipal trash over the taxpayer base, not the subscriber base, was thrilled to hear that any funds that could be retained, that should be retained because it's subscriber money, could be used to lower the subscriber bill,
Mhm.
or could be used to, at that time, I believe, maybe add another program within the trash program. We've learned that there are rules that we have to follow with an enterprise account that might not allow us that much movement, but
You can, it's just in order to use your retained earnings, it would be an article on the annual warrant for the meeting.
Right.
To obtain permission to use the retained earnings, but however, as long as it was related to, a trash and or recycling, either program or topic, you could use the retained earnings for that.
yeah, so I left that meeting feeling that we had support from finance.
yeah, me too, yeah.
So the reason I ask is I don't know if the written minutes actually capture that aspect of the discussion. It talks about the trash recycling program and how it's paid by subscribers only. But it doesn't actually, I don't think it highlights,
Go into more detail on that.
maybe just another line or two about,
Yeah.
discussion included the desire to separate municipal
Municipal
trash
trash.
from subscriber trash and
You know, I mean, it does say that, they agreed with us.
They should just put a municipal trash line item in the GF. And just call it a day.
It would be much simpler,
It would absolutely,
but
it just makes sense.
it talks about, any surplus should go back to subscribers, but it doesn't capture.
The fact that we shouldn't be paying for the municipal
Yes,
stuff,
exactly.
right, yeah,
I can go back.
So we can,
so
okay.
we'll table this one for, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We should fix it,
Yeah,
Fix
we
it.
can just say, can't we just say it and fix it?
well, unless you wanted to make a decision on the wording now, we can.
I can go either way. I trust Jack. But I mean,
So,
the recording's the recording, so
Yeah,
just capturing a few more details.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
Okay, so with capturing a few more details.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to approve the meeting,
yes. I think-
minutes of the meeting
I
for,
hope we accept the minutes as written
and I'll second the motion that we accept the minutes for October 10th with the revision
correction.
so discussed.
all in favor?
I,
Aye.
The next one is October 11th. All members were present.
It is.
I mean, I think they got the wrong.
I've got a sweater and this jacket. Ready to cozy up to. Yes.
That cool, that keeps our brains alive, keeps us thinking, right?
He's got.
Yeah, but if it's the second floor of the town hall, we'd be swept through it.
That's right.
My wife said something to me and says, yeah, it's a dumb, open the windows.
Yeah,
When heat rises.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I was good with these, good memories.
Motion, we accept the minutes as read. Over 11th.
I'll second the motion.
On favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next one is October 25th. All the members were present.
I'll make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes for October 25th, 2023.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Here it is.
Yeah, no choice on November 8th, so it's just Alan and Tom.
Did you not want to be in the town hall? Bristol room?
I, just my personal preference, given the temperature, it's kind of for environment. Yeah, but yeah, I'm open to, if you guys really wanted to.
I'm freezing.
That fish bowl was a little scary.
Well, I've had a lot.
I'm
of
used to
meetings
watching the
there.
fish from the outside, not being in the tank.
I had a lot of meetings there for the last 3 months, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Check models,
the
three
trade,
committee.
yeah, the track.
So how do you find the room?
I didn't mind it at all.
And the system that's there works very good?
Yeah, and then
Okay,
people who weren't walking by or saying hi or nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something
Yeah,
to know, you know?
yeah.
I mean, this has worked out for us.
Had you listened to the recordings of any of those task force meetings up there?
I did not.
One reason I asked is I happened to listen to one and at the time, I didn't think the audio was all that great. I don't know, somebody who was kind of picking up, looking at it,
Uh-huh.
recording, but I understand that Dan had made a correction.
Oh,
So it's,
Yeah.
it's really better now. It was kind of like the police station had an issue for a while.
Okay.
And there was an adjustment made there with the mic. But that's about it.
Lucky to have that guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was fine with this. All right, so I will step down.
I'll make the motion to accept the meeting minutes of November 8th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Aye.
aye.
December 6th, everybody was present.
One thing I'll bring up on this is, did we ever do a survey?
No, we did not.
Which one was it?
You would, something that you had brought up, this is, number 8. You had brought up about a survey to, see how people were,
Like in the trash.
Yeah.
and I couldn't recall whether we had acted.
Is that 8? There's 8.
Yeah,
That's, that has to do with the,
The trees regulations?
yeah, number 8.
No.
Yeah, page 4, yeah, page 4.
yeah. Tom Fickner suggested in addition to the EL Harvey
Flip
contract.
it over, Tom.
I'm sorry?
Flip over the last page, back on the last page.
Oh, back.
On the back.
Okay.
Okay.
Backside.
So
All right.
that made me definitely remember that conversation, but I couldn't remember if we had acted on
That's a negative.
No, we did.
No.
One heck of a suggestion.
it. Oh, good man. You know, I mean, we haven't been in it for a year yet. And is it gonna be something that we actually send out in paper form?
I think we should do it, social media stuff.
See, I like that.
You could put it on that letter that you're gonna send out and then have set something up that they can go take. Like a, to Google or something survey.
Yeah, Google survey, like a survey
Yeah.
monkey type thing.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Just need to develop the questions.
And
Yeah.
easy for them to respond, send back something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can put on that letter, please, when you have a second, take our survey. And
Yeah, keep it short.
Yeah.
To the point. So that we're not taking too much time and we can use the information.
If somebody else.
I wouldn't want it to be
Yeah.
20 questions long.
no, I think like 5.
Yeah.
Tops.
Yeah, I like 5.
Right. Tops.
Oh, 3 minutes.
Oh, that's why we need to develop the questions.
Damn it.
All right, so I'm glad, see, there's a good thing in going back and reading the history book. All right, so we'll put that as something we need to work on and develop so that we can add it to that, that sheet that'll be inserted in the bill.
Mhm.
Can I have a motion if nobody else has anything else on December 6th?
I will be accepting the minutes of December 6th.
Now, second motion.
All in favor?
I-
All right, last one, December 20th. Members were present except for Colleen.
Mine flies when you having fun.
Anything on these minutes of December 20th? Can I have a motion?
Will be accepting minutes is read.
Second motion to accept the meeting minutes.
All in favor?
Aye. That's very slow. Now I know what Jack spending more time on. Nothing to do with Jack.
Can I have a question about, what is Marchand doing now? Is he on top of everything? Is he working? Just wondering, I haven't heard anything bad, but I should.
Yeah, I've seen his vehicles out there. I've seen his dumpsters out there. I don't think I've seen a Portalette in a while. I haven't seen the septic truck. But, I'm pleased that all the paperwork
Right,
appears to be updated. Have you gotten any pumping records from Marchand recently?
I spoke to, I forget her name.
Yes,
Sarah?
Sarah, yeah,
Sarah. They did no pumping for January.
okay, that's good. So that implies that if there was no pumping and mending, we don't
Right,
need any paperwork.
right.
So February's not over,
One more day.
yeah. So we should be good.
I just was thinking, since I know him for. Yeah. Wonder,
Hopefully he's got a team of people keeping everything updated.
I think
So
it
far,
seems like
it
it
is.
does, and I know they asked my son-in-law to, work with them, doing stuff and. Thought about it and said, he just retired from the state, so. I just.
They
I'd have
will.
to have something that it wasn't gonna be controversial.
Okay. So we'll move on to Jack's updates.
All right, so for the past 2 weeks,
Thank you, sir.
so on Tuesday, February 20th, Chairman Greenberg, Colleen, John Dudley, and I all went down to the Old Mendon landfill with Cynthia Marnick, who was gonna be present to show her where the down tree was. Basically, we all had a meeting with her. She gave us her blessing into taking the trees down to clear the way with the well, so the DEP could get in there to test and keep monitoring the well. So just want to keep people apprised of that. And Colleen will have more on her, about that situation and her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Yep.
All right.
Requesting the hazardous waste and scholarship donation from E.L. Harvey. I saw Mike Sussman this past Monday. He dropped off the check for post, so I do have that in hand. I got word back from Laura, the TA assistant, and she has confirmed that she was adding the trash enterprise article submitted to the draft ATM warrant. I got word back from Karis this morning. She said she is working with a child, but she says she would be available for our next BOH meeting, which is March 13th. She was the one that was going over the access agreement of the amended landfill.
Right.
And this afternoon, I received a phone call from John Dudley that E.L. Harvey truck was leaking fluids on Washington Street during that route. So I emailed my contact husband and said, hey, your truck's leaking fluids again.
Yeah, me. Well, I wasn't there today.
I did
All
notice a
day.
little sheen
I
from
thought-
my trash cans,
And I,
so I wasn't sure if it was raining, if it was
then came home.
grease
Mhm.
from the
Off at the door.
or an actual leak, but it didn't seem as though
And I
it was
didn't see
enough
anything
to
beyond.
be an actual leak.
Yeah, John said he was behind the truck and he noticed it significantly.
Okay.
That's the stock bill was added to.
I don't think he did. He just called me, but I don't think he stopped Phil at all. I reached out to Heather and E.L. Harvey saying the truck's leaking fluids again. What do we do for a new truck? Do we get a new truck every so many years?
Well, it's
Think.
my understanding that a truck has a life expectancy of between 5 and 7 years.
Right. So we were expecting, that was the expectation given to us that we would see.
And I know in the past, back when we were working with Republic, that was one of the things that they looked at when they calculated the cost of the new contract. They came right out and said, all right, how many more years of life we got in the particular truck that they were running and mending? So it's an important piece in putting that all together. We're obviously, we gotta be 6 years with that truck. That truck was brand new, I think,
2018.
when we started with E.L. Harvey. So it's on its,
So the truck that had the arm on the side?
Yeah.
At the very beginning. Huh?
It always had the arm, just wasn't placed into.
In the contract that says that they'll replace it?
no.
No.
We just know from negotiating
Yeah.
that when we've been educated on how they put all the pieces together, that the life expectancy of the truck and having to replace the truck kind of flows into that process. So based on 7 years, that truck probably in its last year. And obviously, we've had some breakdowns and setbacks with that truck. So maybe 7 years isn't an accurate number. Maybe that's a hope versus an actual. You know, maybe an actual is more like 5,
Yeah, put a bug in Sussman's ear,
you know?
start asking about it.
Do we know, for certain too, that is the same truck that's been used contingency? Well, I mean, no one know that probably Phil.
Oh, sure, Phil will be the only one that would know. It's the same truck.
That's what just asking the question, say, hey, Phil, just kind of curious about the time you've been, has this been the same truck that you've been bringing into the town, or have you had to switch out?
Well, he's had some leakage problems before, but I think you called me.
And he's had some problems with the regen.
Yeah,
That shut him down one day for a couple of hours. He actually had to go back
Oh, yeah.
to the shop to get the regen fixed.
Yeah.
But I know that's not a common animal, that split body.
Yeah.
So my guess is that's the truck that we started with.
Yeah.
And I mean, geez, he parks in front of your house at the end of the day and he sweeps and all. I mean, he keeps that cab nice and clean, but that's his responsibility. You know, when he brings the truck in at night, he tells the mechanic that this, and this need attention. Next guy in line is supposed to take care of those things.
And you issue your permit to haul, do you require the, registration for the vehicle and the truck number?
Yep.
You could put the truck number, you put the truck number on the, permit when you issue the permit,
What do you mean truck number?
so,
License plate number?
yeah, the plate number and the registration number.
No, we just put the company name on it.
That's a way to keep track of it, so then say like that truck breaks down, then they have to notify you when they're bringing new truck into town. It's a way to keep track of how long the truck's been in town for too.
I know for a while we were told that the availability of getting new trucks was a problem. I don't want to say blame everything on COVID, but
That definitely impacted.
we all know that there were periods of time where there was short supply of
Everything.
complete new vehicles. Because everybody was in the same boat. We could ask the question. We could even ask Mike Sussman if, you know, based on 7-year life expectancy that we were told.
give it some time for him to get a new truck.
Just start putting a bug in his ear now.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could tell us that one's on order. He could tell us that he needs to ask. Who knows?
But at least you have a benchmark when you started asking, you know what I mean?
And we can tell him the reason we're asking is based on 7 years and based on the calls we're getting that the truck's leaking fluids or glass.
And you just don't want an interruption in service. You're concerned about that, because let's face it, when residents don't get their trash and recycling picked up,
They get cranky,
Oh, yeah.
they get very.
he gets bombarded.
No, valid question to ask.
Yeah.
Where are we in the pipeline for a new truck?
Yeah,
Awesome.
And you know, it's obvious that the repairs or the failures have gotten more frequent.
Given that, the visit there that you both made, what was your take on the well condition? It's
Got a pretty good lean to it.
yeah.
probably gonna have to be,
I don't know how deep they are.
Well, Jack and I went up Monday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We went up now that, so the highway department just cut the tree and pushed it to the.
Yeah, I got the pictures here.
And we took pictures so you can see the lean to it, and we sent them to Atlas.
okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how deep they are.
The concrete around it, Jack and I looked at it, and you could move it because the concrete base was separated from the earth. So I don't know
it's
if
probably
that's
not
just,
that deep.
no, it's really not. I mean, I think I'm not, see, you can see it right there.
like, when they drill a well, the well casing has to be a minimum of 20 feet.
I think it's just the concrete on it that can be,
Now you see the
yep,
concrete's coming up the pipe itself.
Yeah, so that leads me to believe that the pipe itself doesn't go that far into it.
so we sent them over to Atlas, we let them know that, it's been cleared. And, to come evaluate the situation and let us know.
They, I knew they're due to come in March. They haven't given us a date yet.
No, they have not.
Okay.
But now that won't interfere with their ability because it's all set.
Right.
Thanks, big thanks to John and the highway
No,
department.
Absolutely.
They got right up there and they took care of it and made quick work out of it. And Cynthia Minor too, she was very happy, very cooperative
Yeah.
that day, right?
No, you have definitely developed a good line of communication, which is gonna be huge to us staying in compliance.
All right.
Mhm.
Was there any discussion about the other deficiencies at all when you folks were up there that was seen in the property?
Did you and Alan, you and John talk about the,
Yeah, we talked about the catch basin.
Okay.
And we looked at it and I asked John if it just needed to be cleaned out, the basin cleaner first.
Okay.
And he said, he told me that it was caved in enough that it needs to be rebuilt.
Okay.
So it's a matter of getting on the schedule.
Okay.
And if he can't get us on the schedule, then we're gonna have to get some prices from local contractors that can do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've put enough money in that account, provided it gets approved, that we can pay an outside contract.
Yeah, we'd have to get 3 bids.
Yeah.
We get phone bids.
Probably something we'll put as Saturday, in the back of our heads as we're discussing the budget and go before. Well, like, when they see the increase.
Oh, yeah, it'll definitely jar our memories as to why we did
Right.
that, and I mean, we have no choice but to fix that catch basin.
Yeah.
And again, with a small staff and all the road failures.
Yeah.
I called John this morning about a road failure and they got right out there. So whatever they saw needed to be addressed
Yeah.
right away. When my daughter was running by it, she just saw the road buckling. There's a lot of that around town, so, it's it's very possible John may not be able to get to it in a reasonable amount of time.
Mhm.
So we need to have that alternative. We can't rely on him solely.
Right.
Uh,
Thinking of it, topic of the landfill, were Atlas able to do anything with that photo as far as incorporating that 3D picture? I thought it would be kind of a nice idea if they could incorporate the wellheads into the photograph.
I haven't heard anything back from them about that.
Yeah. Didn't you use the word like overlay?
Yeah, overlay. They put something on the photograph. They put on there. I thought it'd be a good idea if they could incorporate the wellheads as part of that overlay.
And even after the catch basin, we've got those depressions that need to be addressed.
Right.
So, we're making progress.
Yeah.
Hopefully Atlas will give us some reasonably good news about the status of that well. Maybe it's shallow enough that it can just be straightened and concrete can be poured around it again. Or whatever they tell us.
Right.
But I would say probably the catch basin is gonna be the next priority. And then the depressions.
Right.
And the depressions will probably have to go out and mark them. So that whoever does it, whether it's the highway.
Yeah.
Or a contractor, they get them all.
Use grass paint or whatever.
White flags,
White flag.
like like I use for dig safe, just
Yeah, there you go.
put a whole bunch of white flags in so they know where to go. And again, keep Cynthia in the loop so that
Oh, yeah, that's,
it gets
she's
taken care
there
of, but
on,
she's great.
oh, yeah, Mondays and Tuesdays, she's there.
And who lives in the house?
She does part-time,
Oh,
part-time,
oh,
yeah, because she really lives up in Salem.
Salem, right, I knew
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
Yeah, she still teaches dance class.
yeah,
yeah, so she teaches it down here.
yeah,
So no one's in the house, though.
yeah, no, other than her. Very cooperative, very appreciative, willing to work with us,
Good.
absolutely.
So the nut did fall off of the tree.
Do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it for my
Just
updates.
jumped in,
Yeah.
which is fine,
Yeah.
because they're all related.
Yeah.
So,
Before we just go switch topics, because you referenced it as an update, you guys have scholarships.
Mhm.
You may just want to make, probably should consider acting on that soon. Right.
do we want to put something in the free press?
Well, I think we typically have done that. And then we reached out to the schools directly, notified them of the availability, or sent them out an email.
That's what we do for our Board of Health, I mean, our book guild scholarship, we do a scholarship every year.
And as far as we know, we're okay with the format, given we've had scholarship conversations. With others, are we okay with the current application we have? Do you need to change? If you think?
Can't say,
Yeah, I can bring it up at the next board.
yeah,
meeting.
I can't say I've got my eyes on it in a while.
Just a choice, because
No, absolutely. And how much do we have?
Well, I'm confirming with Jody to make sure that $1,000, because we didn't report anything last year, that the $1,000 still in there from last year.
Right.
Should be.
The kid didn't,
Nobody was awarded the scholarship last year, nobody applied.
right,
So we should have 1,000 in the,
Then I still got a $1,000 check.
and a new 1,000.
Yeah,
right.
So that, and that actual check resides where?
in my desk.
But when you turn it over,
Mhm.
is that a gift account that you're turning it over to, or is it the general fund?
It just gives me the trash account number to throw it into. It says
So-
E.L. Harvey Scholarship on the budget.
It just food
Hopefully,
for thought,
it can go into the general fund.
right, so you may want to establish a gift account. So that that money stays there. So like last year, you didn't issue the scholarship, so you should have 2,000, and town hall may have already done that for you. I would ask, but you should separate it from your other accounts, your other income accounts, because that's.
Yeah, it is separate. There's two separate accounts, income and an expense scholarship on the Board of Health.
Oh, good, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I
then-
don't know if it's a gift account.
Yeah, well, however they can call it a scholarship account, as long as it's labeled that and that, so that $1,000 from last year should still be in there.
Okay,
So
sorry.
you say you have it in the desk.
No, I have the $1,000 from this year's.
Scholarship. Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so if we get confirmation that last year's $1,000 is still there,
Yeah, I asked her that yesterday in an
and
email.
we have the new $1,000, then we should have the ability to that 1,000.
Yeah.
So when we advertise it, so to speak, we can advertise it that way, provided we have confirmation.
Well, if that does change, I'm gonna just have to change our wording a little bit then to accommodate that
Right.
piece, but.
All right,
Good idea. that's
two
good.
separate $1,000 scholarships you could issue.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do too.
You don't have to say that to anybody, we just say, apply for a scholarship, we'll take the two best, right?
Well, we want to probably advertise the amounts that we're offering.
Yeah, 2,000, yeah, we can say $1,000 scholarship. And then we get two people that are really top of the,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
so that we can,
Almost like the point you brought up last night with me.
Right.
Good point, Joyce.
Yeah.
Good point, because that way there, we don't have to backtrack next year.
right?
If we only have the current 1,000,
Correct.
we're still doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, I heard it last night from Tom.
Well, the point,
No,
a
no, no.
little more specific, but it was similar, but
But it was good. See, I was just following the suggestion that was made to me.
Right.
But that's really how it should be, is how you said it. Okay,
All right.
Good.
Colleen, please.
40 North Avenue, I spoke with the property owner and he advised me that he is going to be conveying that property to the current residents which I believe is his grandchildren.
Okay.
Our grandson. I advised him that he has a failed septic system and that he has to comply with Title V requirements. And he said that he wanted to sell the property as is. And I just expressed a little concern with regards to that, but I said, you're not going to a financing institution will not fund that without a COC. And he advised me that he was going to be the bank. I asked him if he was represented by counsel. He said yes. He gave me counsel's name and contact information. He sent an email to counsel and advised counsel that there's already a field septic system there. He's under orders from the Board of Health. There's a 2-year compliance period. If he's, because the property owner said that he was going to be closing on the property within a few weeks. So we sent the letter right off to the attorney, advised him of the situation and that, he would have to upgrade the system or enter into an enforceable agreement with the board. We haven't heard back from the attorney yet, but just to put the attorney on
Right.
notice.
How was it sent?
We sent it by email.
Return receipt?
No, you don't have to with email.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know somehow you can,
Oh,
You
yeah,
can do it,
you
you do it
can
right
ask.
request
there
receipt,
you go.
but they can say no and you'll never know.
Right,
Oh, okay.
right. But in thinking about it, earlier tonight, I was thinking that tomorrow that would probably send it to him.
Yeah, that's not gonna hurt.
Right.
It's just a question.
It's sad but true.
Mhm.
With regard to the desire of what this plan was to transfer that property. Would that situation be one of those exceptions that
No,
it's not?
Nope.
You know where I'm going?
right.
Yeah, because I didn't think so anymore.
It's a grandson. I mean, it's a grandchild. That is not an exemption.
Right.
That is not an
But
exemption.
that's a failed septic system.
Correct.
Regardless. Yeah, and
Right.
they can't just say, okay, well, you can do it later, honey.
The thing is that, I mean, with Title V, we all know there's two types of failure. There's a failure to meet criteria and there's a failure to function. This property in particular is both.
I know we have pending wording that we want to modify when it comes to general situation of transfer, we just haven't gotten it.
Right, transfer within family.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of, I would call, close the loophole.
But didn't I read something somewhere that doesn't compute anymore?
Oh, in general?
Yeah, somewhere.
Not between, spouse or
Children.
siblings, children.
Huh, 'cause I thought I read something.
So I still could, as a parent, transfer my property to my daughter,
To your daughter, but not your granddaughter.
not my granddaughter,
Mhm.
and without having,
Oh, okay.
any
Right,
requirements.
Yeah.
correct.
But I wonder why that would make any difference. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, because I think that maybe they think that, the burden of it, number one, but number two, that an immediate family member who's gonna probably stay on the property is eventually gonna have to address the septic system.
Yeah, but people are so,
But after you and I both know how much it costs to pump, and after pumping for a while, you're gonna be like, no, it's time to put in the system.
right, yeah.
But the purpose was to put the attorney on notice prior to the conveyance.
Right, and they have a legal obligation.
Right. Right. So that we're not chasing, like we're chasing Blackstone Street, which will be the next one I talk about. So what we did with Blackstone Street is, we had served them by a constable.
Mhm.
There was no response. Looking back on Title V in the process, the next process in the Title V to complete the process before it eventually gets turned over to Karis was to send a notice of non-compliance to them, which we did, cited the regulation and gave them 15 days to produce the Title V from the conveyance back in February of
2021,
2021 or 2022.
no, 2021.
20, yeah, you're right, 2021. So we contacted Constable Peterson, who was very happy to come, and he served them Tuesday,
Yesterday.
yesterday.
Yes,
Yeah, I was trying to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yes,
Tuesday.
it is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I was too.
So we served him yesterday, have 15 days. If we don't receive any response, then they'll be issued an order. And then if there's no response, then we would have to turn it over to council.
It could be that they be evicted.
So here's the other thing that I'm researching right now, just so the board is aware of, is that the board can also issue a notice of condemnation.
I've heard in the past from health agents that that's a pretty big step. It's a big.
It is, it's a process. I'm familiar with it because I've done it a few times. And that may be, let's see what happens first. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and then we can have that discussion.
For condemning the property.
Mhm.
Well, I think there was like key in this trying to think that when I first came on the board in 2012, we had a similar situation for different reason. We're trying to think of the exact same order for a property. But we had to have the occupant fortunately needed to be removed.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember hearing about it. I obviously wasn't present.
Yeah, you weren't on the board at the time. That was one of the first big things I stepped into.
We can discuss it, and then we can also discuss it with council.
Yeah.
You know, if we get to that, I'm hoping that, again, they realize that the board is still actively pursuing the compliance of the property.
Right.
So now they just received a notice of non-compliance. And if there's no, then they're gonna receive an order. So they know that the board is actively looking to work with them, you know,
Right.
to bring the property into compliance.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to be pretty assured of your position if you go to do something to that extent, right?
What, condemnation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to have a good basis for issuing such a
Mhm.
order, right?
Yeah, it's a process. There's absolute process.
Yeah.
But the Board of Health can, if they feel that there's any property that's a threat to the public health and welfare of the community. And in this case, you don't know,
What's happening in there? Where are they going to the bathroom?
well, you don't know what type, you know, what system is there any
Right.
surface breakout? We have never been walked on the property to examine it. You know, and that may be, you know, if we do receive some type of response, that would be the first thing I would ask. Hey, why don't you meet me up there and let's walk the property, let's see what's going on, you know? But regardless of that, there's still a requirement under Title V that when you convey a property, you have to comply with Title V.
And because of the age of the property and the little history that I know of the family that put the trailer there, it's gotta be accessible, which doesn't even come close to meeting Title V requirements at this.
No, that would be a criteria. I'm more interested in seeing it, and if it is a cesspool, if it's, you know, if there's anything that
It's
gets.
a very small
All
lot.
in there.
I
Yeah.
remember when you looked it up on the assessors notes, it's not a big piece of land, period. It has a big drop off in the back, I think was the notation on the assessor's card. I have to say that, you know, all the times that I drive by it and it being so close to the road, I've never seen anything or smelt anything or anything like that. It's just obvious that the property's changed hands and no one's done a Title V on it, or if they haven't submitted any paperwork.
Right, you know, and then again, you know, this is be much like, you know, North Avenue and Northbridge, road too, and that the board, you know, is willing and able to work with these property owners and have
Yeah.
proven that you have in the past. You know, and this, with this property too, much like North Avenue, we could enter into what's called an enforceable agreement for them to comply and upgrade the system, and that gets recorded on the registry of deeds. So there's, you know, so that a future buyer would be aware that there was this agreement in place. So that's kind of where we are with these properties. Northbridge Road, Steve Donatelli went up there, the other day and noticed that the, took the cover off and, you know, there was about 18 inches from, you know, the ground, from the top. And so we sent an email to, the property owner and let him know that, you know, it's 18 inches, it's not immediate, but it's gonna need to be pumped soon. And he's been decent about complying. So we'll wait for the pump slip from him. He usually calls up John Gibson and I can follow up with John.
Good.
And we already talked about the landfill. We did the fall prevention presentation at the senior center last Thursday. It went very well. Deb did a great job. A lot of information. Jacked up some great folder with information in them. We left them down there. The senior director, the assistant, Judy, yeah.
She's new, right? She knew?
She's new.
Yeah, she was very happy with the presentation and look forward to future presentations. We're talking with Deb, we're probably gonna do something with Horton, because it's huge. And, so,
Hoarding.
yeah, sorry.
Lots of accents.
Yeah, I know, I saw her speaking my
Sorry.
Yeah.
You wanted to go look at my barn.
But we're gonna,
3 floors.
yeah, oh, yeah, I have one of those too. Work with Deb on putting something together and do another presentation at the senior center. It really went well. It went very, very well. They particularly like the handout that Jack put together a folder with all different information in it, and they love stuff like that. So, and they can take it home and read
Well,
it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they have any questions, it's compact and you
Yeah.
can keep it in a special area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went very, very well. And we're just moving forward with, well, I shouldn't say forward, but with food establishments, mobile food trucks are in season.
Yeah, already.
Mm-hmm. And
I
we,
saw Cousins in Waltham
yep,
on Sunday.
Cousins was down on Half of that East.
I drove by and I see my daughter. Cousins is up the street. She goes, yeah, they're around there all the time.
Yeah.
What are cousins? What is that?
Cousins.
Cousins
Lost.
Oh, that one, yeah.
And they have a
I saw
following.
that before. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I cannot eat lobster, I'm allergic, but I was gonna stop and buy a sandwich for my husband because he would love it, but there were so many people there.
Oh, yeah.
And I had places to go and things to do. I said, not now. Well,
Yeah, we have, I mean, an uptick for sure in mobile food permits in the area. The 3 cannabis facilities in town, one in particular is has a lot of food trucks on Fridays. We inspected one today. We had to come to the town hall.
Food trucks at a cannabis place?
Yeah,
the one that's up on the hill there.
Mhm.
That big one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
What
So,
did you say?
Say food trucks at a cannabis
Yeah.
place? How unusual.
Bag of chips just doesn't do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I
You need
did
a whole meal.
the Scotty truck.
Yeah.
I did the milk truck.
Malt truck, grilled cheese truck.
And now Donut Envy is gonna be there on Friday. And
Maybe I'll
so,
have to go with you and check it.
The truck of the cannabis.
Donut, yeah, Donut
The
Envy.
donut.
And so, but anyway, what I did was I notified the other 2 cannabis facilities in town that if they are going to follow suit, because this seems to be the new thing with the cannabis facilities, because I've seen it in other towns with food trucks. I let them know and I sent them the information with regards to the requirements for a food permit, number one, and where you place it on your property and the setbacks and the guidelines with regards to that.
Good.
So, and we're preparing, I have a feeling we're gonna have a very busy season.
You know, and I'm hearing a lot about the cannabis places aren't doing. I mean, we have 3 right in a row,
Mhm.
but I was reading this thing in the paper. That, you know, doing as well, whatever reason.
Are they over? So
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, it's like a liquor store.
three in one town?
That's 3.
That is a lot.
It is in a town of our size.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a lot.
especially when there's someone in the next town,
Yeah, there's 3 in the next.
right?
town.
So, yeah, so
Carolyn.
it could be saturated.
Yeah,
Has a, actually, thank you.
So we'll continue to forge forward. Like I said, I think we're gonna have a very busy mobile food truck.
yeah.
Just one more question, going back to the presentation you did see, I'm just curious how was the attendance?
There were 10.
And
10, Yeah.
Just curious.
yeah. We try and plan them like at 11 o'clock, so it's like just before lunch and, you know, they'll come in. And, you know, they'll maybe sit for the presentation and then they'll have their lunch.
Yeah.
That's what we're working on, but it was, you know, the winter time, she was saying it's hard because it's cold out and
Yeah.
people don't want to come out and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we were kicking around, Jack and I, was to start to record them. And then we can put them up on the website, so people who can't come out,
That's a good idea. That's a very.
you know, that who can't come out can watch it on the website. And if they have any questions or if they want the handout, then they can contact the senior center and they can mail it to them. You know, or we'd be happy to deliver it,
Mhm.
but that's something Jack and I was
Yeah.
starting to talk
No,
about.
great idea.
You know, that way they're all, you know, everything's up there. And we're offering a serve safe class too. Dan is gonna be teaching it in Northbridge, so we sent out notification to all the food vendors.
Cool.
Yep. So if they has now with the new food regulations as of January 1st, they have to have a serve safe certified person on every shift. So this is an opportunity for them.
Get ahead of the game.
Right. And we're gonna be offering it,
you believe?
but then there's the one not next week, the week, in March too, he's doing one too. March,
I didn't see that one.
yeah, March 16th. So there'll be 2 classes
Where's the one on March 16th?
in Northbridge. Yeah,
So are we engaging the businesses on that topic? I mean,
Yeah, there's a registration form for
Yeah.
you to pay Northbridge directly. So we give them the calendar and the registration form and I email it out to everybody on the food permit applications.
that's like a mailing thing we did to them, that we did.
emailed it.
Email it,
Yeah.
email, yeah.
Yep, we emailed it out, let them know, hey, here's a class.
Yeah.
You know, and moving forward, we could also host a class, we could have it upstairs in the town hall.
Yeah, Tom, Missy and I went out. Was it South Hadley? We went out, it was out that way.
It was out there.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, we went out there for a class years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a full day,
Oh, yeah,
but you know, definitely. Not only learn what you're supposed to be learning, but you learn the importance
Mhm,
of how fast something could go wrong,
mhm.
especially in a restaurant situation where they serve hundreds of people in a day.
Right.
Okay.
It's almost instant bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't realize it because normally it's just our household that we're serving and, you know.
oh, yeah.
But
That's why it's important too, you know, just to, you know, stay in touch with all of these establishments, pop your head in, you know, matter of fact, it was something we were talking about today. You know, we're up to date on our inspections, but I'll be popping my head in.
You know, we got certified to have a better understanding
Mhm.
of what the people we serve
Yep.
are going through to
Yep.
get these certifications and the importance. It was a good day well spent.
Mhm.
Right. I like the, especially that change with the every shift thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to see how well that gets controlled.
So far. We had one establishment, the person stepped out to do an errand. And then the inspector happened to go in. So I had a conversation with them until the next time we in there and then he said something else. Stay on site. It was just an inadvertency.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is that, you know, so that they're aware that there's a presence. Kind of like with tobacco retail education, we use it as an opportunity, like poke my head in, you know, a little teaching time.
Yep.
And which will help them, you know, comply when they are up for an inspection. I keep the dialogue open, you know, friendly face, not an adversarial face.
Right, exactly.
You know, Colleen's here. Yeah.
Well, you know, all of that stuff is important in every part of your life. Really.
Absolutely.
You know, like I always say to the kids, if you want to get your way, keep the bar high,
Mhm.
and you're gonna win.
Yep.
Because if you get cranky and busy, you lose.
Well, and all you're trying to get
And you've got that
Restaurants.
good demeanor.
Mm.
the restaurants and tobacco companies to do is
Apply.
develop good habits.
Right.
Because if it's a good habit, a good routine, it doesn't matter if you show up or not.
Mhm.
Because everybody is just doing what they do every day. They're just
Mhm.
doing it the right way.
Right.
So you can come in any day at any time and it's not to find them or to find them doing something wrong. It's to watch them doing everything right.
Mhm.
How can I save you $1,000 on your inventory? You should do this.
Temperature checks.
That's some, the logs I tell,
Yeah.
I'm a stickler for it.
Mhm.
I really truly am, because that's the only way you're gonna save your inventory. Because if you hit something that's out of temp. Unless you say, oh, no, wait a minute, Colleen, I just checked that an hour ago, here's the temp right here.
Yeah.
Okay, guess what? You just saved that.
Yeah, Cisco was here and they just brought a delivery in and the door was open.
Yeah.
And they, you know. It registers with them because, you know, like I said, I'm trying to help you save your bottom line. And this is the only way to do that. The only way.
You have to get to the business.
That's right.
That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Next item on the agenda, community service announcements. Anybody?
Hey, huh?
I got none. None.
All right. Outstanding old business?
I do have one community
Oh,
announcement,
please.
just to say, is our food show is going to be held at the CBT on the 16th and 17th of March.
Yeah.
And
From 10 to 4?
10 to 4.
Where,
Paying it in?
in the gym?
It's the whole floor, the whole area there. They let us have that whole
Nice.
area. Yeah, it's really, they really are very good to us. Yeah. And you would not believe how talented these people are. I mean, it's like an art show.
You probably see. And my mom.
I love it. And you and Jason. You and the girls.
Maybe me and my
And you and
wife.
the girls. Oh, yeah,
Mike,
girls are.
they're all, yeah, they're.
Living
Some
their
of them are
lives.
actually. Lindsay's in her bedroom a million hours a week working.
Yeah,
Kind of sad, but. New way of doing things.
I know.
All right, anybody else have any outstanding old business?
The only question I would ask, it kind of relates a little bit to the trash program and follow-up. I know a couple meetings back. Talked about those efficiencies. That we were having conversations about.
Right,
And I know at our January meeting, we talked about reaching out, having you reach out to department heads about that.
mhm.
If we done that, do we decide, what do we decide?
Well, E.L. Harvey.
You know, drivers gave Mike Sespan equivalents of what was going on, and Dan gave us his what was going on with the parks. And basically, and Mike Sespian basically gave us a breakdown of roughly the senior center can go down smaller. The parks are seasonal, but it all depends on how busy the beach is and how often it needs to get emptied.
So based on the data we collected, really doesn't necessitate having to do that.
No.
At this point.
No.
So,
Right. I thought it was a pretty good report.
Yeah.
You know,
so at this point then,
the driver wasn't seeing any,
so everything looked like everything was okay. So basically how it's been running is efficient.
yeah, I know Dan said there's one lock missing on one of his dumpsters on a side door. But I thought the only thing that really kind of stood out, if I remember correctly, was the size of the dumpster down at the senior center.
Correct.
Not that there was any apparent use that it was being
Oh,
misused
Yeah.
or anything like that.
So do we still think that that's appropriately sized for them? Or do we think?
I thought it was a no.
I was gonna say, no, Mike Sespian believes they can go smaller or go like once a month emptying.
Right,
I don't know how much food, if they throw away food in there from the food pantry type of thing.
So that probably requires conversation, but the fire station was only a 2 yard
2 yard,
highway. Was that another?
highway stays as is, that's a 8 yarder?
Is it? Okay.
yeah, because they probably. picked this up
Library
on
was-
the Streets and.
Yeah.
things like that.
Library was Todas.
Yeah.
So, nothing really stood out.
Okay.
And the driver did monitor it, and reported to Mike. And
Yes.
Very cool. Awesome. So that is the senior center, some sort of conversation and making sure that, you know, how they operate and whether or not we would physically change out. Want to consider changing out based on what they feel.
Since it's
Right.
gonna be off their budget. It's gonna be on their budget now.
Well,
Not directly.
not necessarily.
If they just do a municipal trash line item, then.
It won't be broken down that much detail. But the efficiencies and the monitoring to make sure that
Not being,
no one's right. Helps the town,
right,
helps the taxpayers, helps us as drivers, helps everybody.
Well,
Nobody gets penalized. Anything else? All right, the only thing I'll mention, and I'm not really sure where it goes, but I did have a conversation with Mike Maloney. And initially it was a request for us to change our meeting location
yes.
until the annual town meeting,
Yeah.
which I informed him that Jack and I assumed Ellen had already taken care of. So he was thrilled to hear that. But while I was talking with him, I asked him if the evening that he would like to have us, Board of Health, come before him to discuss the warrant article,
Okay,
if we could do it on a night that we normally meet,
okay.
and if we could be like first on the agenda so that we could go there, attend that meeting, adjourn, and then go to, let's say, downstairs on the first floor of town hall and resume our meeting. So it doesn't add too many meeting nights.
Yeah.
And he was very, fine with that. And he said he tries to do that as a habit.
Yeah.
If people are there, he tries to pick them up first. If it's a board that normally meets, he tries to make it on a meeting night so that it doesn't, blow anyone's schedule.
Yeah.
So I made a note of that and I wanted to bring it up so that we know that may be a scenario. And it could be as soon as our next meeting.
15th.
Yeah. So be on the lookout.
So
Is Mike gonna get back to you and confirm that, or is he gonna engage Jack?
I would assume he's gonna go engage Jack because it'll be an invitation to appear.
Okay,
It's just gonna coincide with a regular meeting night for us.
okay, well, probably good to kind of get a heads up
Make sure that you're
Somehow.
first on.
that's coming. It'd be easy to kind of miss that sometimes.
this is discuss the warrant or the budget.
Article.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I may be confused. I don't know what they're taking first. They might be taking budgets first, and they might not be reviewing the warrants yet.
I don't know.
Well,
we can find out.
What's gonna happen?
last year, she said, pick your days, what you want, and have your board meeting on with your budget. So I don't know if that will happen again this year.
Well, we actually went, that was a separate, I can't recall that, at least last year anyways, that was a separate meeting
Yes,
for the board when we talked about budget. We went to them,
yes.
okay. This sounds like.
Yeah, because- Yeah, I think I was under the impression it had to do with the warrant, only because we discussed the fact that he still would like to see it put into the general taxpayer budget, which we discussed and we talked about, but it sounded as though because of the number, it would involve over. And I told him that same thing we discussed, that if it was in the tax base, that catches the people that aren't playing by the rules that we can't police. But we don't want to lose the good program that we've developed and nurtured, provided for the community. So if money got tight, I don't want trash to go away.
Yeah, no,
And then everybody
yeah,
is on their own, or we're back to scrambling to try to put something together as the Board of Health.
Well, I don't think any reason why trash would go away because it's subscriber based.
Right. He would like to see it as
Stay there.
proposed
Yeah.
back in the tax base.
Right.
So
Oh,
it
he was-
would be, the subscriber
Oh.
program would go back to the way it was
Oh,
20 years ago.
And this is what, like.
So you get one, yeah, so you wouldn't get a bill for
I
trash
see, okay.
because it would be in your
It's a
taxes
service.
and it would be provided to
Oh,
all
okay.
residents in town.
Okay.
But wasn't the reason that they became subscriber because you would need an override?
Well, it became subscribers because they didn't have any money, so they
Right.
cut the trash program like other towns
right.
around us have had to do.
So they could kick us off again.
That's my reservation.
I honestly think that for the benefit of the program and for the residents, that is a clearer cut
No,
enterprise account. Using the subscriber money and at some point you'll have retained earnings and you can use those to improve the program. And we'll never have to worry about there being, an override. And if an override doesn't pass, then you get the trash program, gets kicked out again and you're back to square one. You guys have taken a year or longer painstakingly and built this program.
Oh,
And it's a
that's absolutely.
success.
Right.
Well, I mean, program's been in place for many years as a subscriber base. So,
Yeah, it's gotta be 20 years,
oh, well, at least.
maybe more.
Yeah.
But
That sound right?
that's,
I don't think it's that long, but it's been a while.
we don't know what is down. the road.
Yeah, just, like switching contracts and finally getting a good fit,
Oh, yes, and that, you're right.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, that's nothing that would, even though that's Mike's desire, and he think that way he thinks it should go, that's nothing that's gonna happen tomorrow. And we're under contract right now.
Right.
And it's a
But
budget.
this-
Isn't it-
you
isn't
can.
it 5 years?
You can separate.
Mhm.
We have that built into the contract, I believe.
And it's really, if that happens, it's really be the pleasure of the residents anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
so, like I said, because of that additional conversation, I was under the impression that they were reviewing the annual town, because we had the warrants, because we had, they could
So-
say whether
so
they'll
we're
put it on the warrant or not.
We have how many articles that are on this one?
One,
Just one.
Just from us, yes.
yeah.
We have
one
one
of
for the
these.
enterprise fund.
Yep.
And we don't have one related to, because of what, because of how we're gonna present a budget, where we didn't need to do anything. You guys have separation. Because we're presenting you on paper how we wanna handle that.
Mhm.
And actually, but it was actually a recommendation by Eric.
Mhm.
You can say that.
It's just a cleaner way of doing business
Oh, no,
and for accountability too.
I totally get that. It's definitely, you know, top to bottom, it's definitely appears to be a great accounting tool.
Mhm.
It's just that there's a lot of, there has to be some meeting of the minds in the process to make sure that everyone's in agreement as to what that A to Z, how it's gonna operate.
Well, you don't have to do that immediately either with regards to indirect cost. You can still establish the enterprise account. You know, and for the sole purpose of putting the funds in there and then, you know, so that the funds get transferred out of the GF into this enterprise account. You don't have to immediately reallocate any type of indirect costs until you figure that out. That's not immediate. That's not, you know, that doesn't have to happen because you established this enterprise account. An enterprise account, there's been enterprise accounts that have gone on for years and years with no indirect costs established. As a matter of fact, it's only been in the last, I don't know, I think maybe 10 years or so that this actual tool,
Exists.
right, and then the fundamentals of, oh, hey, wait a minute, we have these indirect costs now, we take them off of taxation and put it into the enterprise account to ease the burden in the general fund of balancing that, of balancing it at the end of the year. So you can absolutely march forward with establishing the enterprise account. You don't have to have clear cut definition, boom, these are going to be the indirect costs. That can come after. More important to establish the enterprise account first.
Yeah, so it can evolve over time. Which is great.
Exactly, exactly. You don't have to rush into that at all. And then, you know, obviously you're searching for, you know, clearer cut, you know, definition of it and it will come, you know, but it doesn't have to, it's not imperative to establish the enterprise account.
But I would just hate to have, difference of viewpoints that we're gonna have like we establish the enterprise fund, and then we have a difference of viewpoints on certain characteristics that neither party can never come to agreement with,
Then it doesn't happen,
and it just doesn't happen
correct? But your receipts stay
in the enterprise.
correct. And then, you know, at the end of the year, if there is a surplus, that's called retained earnings. That gets put into a retained earnings, you start all over again with, you know, another year. And then if you guys say, hey, there's, you know, $20,000 in retained earnings, I'd like to use that, we'd like to use that, we really could, you know, have a, you know, a larger scope, say hazardous drop-off day.
Some enhanced element of it. something
Right.
added.
You know, but at least now you have those funds.
But that, and then of course, that would require that go to warrant. to get
Yeah.
the Approval for that use of that particular
Correct,
extra money.
right.
So I don't know, you stepped away, did you catch all of what she was indicating?
Yeah, because you've explained a lot of that to me before.
So that was kind of interesting to hear. I was under the belief that we would want to be dotting the i's and crossing the t's in advance of
Mhm.
the creation of the enterprise fund so that all the parties are on board. But that's not necessarily the case, and I don't mind continuing to fight the battle.
Right, no, it's more important to, you know, to get the enterprise account passed. And then to take the receipts and transfer them into the enterprise account from the GF. Then after that, you don't have to have indirect costs immediately. You can, and as a matter of fact, probably not a bad idea to wait the year and see what those costs are. If, you know, you may decide it's 5% of Jack's salary or not at all, you know, when you get, like I said, a clearer cut definition or understanding of exactly what an indirect cost is. I mean, that's something that you could even sit down with Eric and have him explain that. I mean, I'm more than happy to explain it too in greater detail, to, you know, to ease anyone's mind or if you have additional questions, but it's not imperative to establish, to have that,
All
you know,
those details.
no,
Okay.
not at all.
That I count. That's
Well, that was kind of the purpose of Jody, Eric, and I getting together and then reporting back to the rest of the board
correct.
as to what we were looking at.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I was under the belief that we'd want to kind of dot those i's and cross
Right.
those t's as much as possible before we say, yep, this is definitely the way we're gonna go. Because without that, there'll always be a potential differing of viewpoint,
Mhm.
but I guess it doesn't necessarily, if the account gets created, Colleen says, well, if it doesn't come to agreement, then it just doesn't happen.
Right, you just never start using that account.
Exactly.
Okay.
And-
For that purpose, for an indirect, but you're gonna use the account that established the enterprise account to, house the receipts
Yeah, okay.
for the subscriber program.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, at the end of the year, you have a surplus that's gonna now be named retained earnings.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And that just stays kind of like this gift account. It's the same thing.
No, I like that very.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it's just a clearer cut way of doing business.
Yeah.
It truly is.
I'm totally on board with the accounting aspect, I
Mhm.
am, because I know it will give a picture. I just, my only reservation with what was gonna be applied as a cost.
Well, and according to the rules that you provided us with, both parties have to agree.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I was assuming, shame on me for assuming, that would have to be determined prior to the creation of the account. Okay, cool.
That's not.
And there's no reason to, even think that we couldn't come to an agreement.
Right.
Because, I mean, we all serve the community. Doesn't matter, which end of this we're on. So, that is gonna be our handout. We're not gonna be like the federal government,
Right, yikes.
and not
Those-
be able to get
those
along,
line. Yeah.
Um,
Or even state that.
yeah,
Because I'm not too thrilled these days. with
Mm.
Things coming out of the state, but.
wow, Milton.
Yes, yeah, what's that? You can't take them to court.
Yeah,
To define what they
The
say
Chinese
is a mandate. Or they,
The,
the rezoning.
housing,
right,
and then they, according to someone's interview, they said, well, it's a mandate, so they can't.
Yeah, I don't know how Rentham voted, but Rentham was gonna have a vote just like Milton as to whether or not to do that rezoning,
I think,
but I didn't hear the results.
think more communities need to maybe stand up in unison. Because not that it's a bad idea, I'm not against the idea. But the state is wonderful at coming up with these great ideas, but they're not lending the support to the communities. They might need the support to make the idea
or,
reasonably happen.
right, yeah.
Say, this is what you gotta do, see you later, make it happen.
right.
That's not
Unfunded
fair.
mandates, that's the favorite.
Yeah, that's not fair.
No, and I think I heard one of the selectmen in Milton say that they felt they were being bullied by
Yeah.
the state,
I could understand it.
Yeah,
They're elected to represent the people. This is what the people voted, and they're being bullied into doing what the state wants, not what the townspeople want. Be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
So I was under the impression, like I said, that
Yeah.
maybe they were gonna take the budget and the warrant at the same time. I may be confused. I've been confused before.
We can find out.
Somehow,
But either way, I mean, if they take it in two separate things, I'd make the same request.
Right.
As far as, scheduling the meeting.
yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
no,
Topics not anticipated?
Discussed.
okay.
Oh,
Come on.
wow. I didn't check 7 off.
Good.
Next meeting looks like March 13th,
Correct.
still at 6:30.
I'm fine with that.
6, okay.
You hear, want to hear it? Or do you want to go back? Did you-
No, I'm good.
I'm fine right now,
Until-
probably April.
Until golf.
Okay.
Yeah, April.
Yeah,
April, then it's at 7:30.
and meeting will be here
Yes.
unless we appear before the select board, in which case it would be more convenient to use the fishbowl.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Anyone on that might have a question?
Nobody's on.
Nobody's on, okay.
We adjourn.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
I'm thinking I'm gonna.
That's it, right?
Yeah, we- we